My first full day back on the plot of 2021. I've been waiting for this. I've got a few plants ready to go in the ground, but the ground wasn't ready for the plants. It was still very boggy, but it's actually getting there now. It's not too bad. It's lovely, beautiful sunny day, blue skies and all the rest of it, but it is still very windy. And I'd like to thank Mike for a really good tip he gave me. I'm actually holding a new dish sponge over the microphone, and I just tried it as a little test with and without. I mean, actually, the way the wind's blowing at the moment, normally on my videos all you'd be able to hear would be, but this little sponge, I tried it out, it's doing a good job. Okay, before I actually have a look at the plot, I've noticed that the hawthorn is just starting to come into leaf. I don't know if you know this or not, but hawthorn is a really good wild food at the beginning of the season. Later on in the year, the leaves taste like leaves, but early on, they taste kind of like the nicest lettuce you've ever bought. They're just starting to come through a little bit. And I'd say for the next probably 6 or 8 weeks, the leaves off of this hawthorn are going to be delicious. I know they're only tiny little sprouts, but even at this stage, they taste lovely. Alright, that looks like a nice one. Yep. Oh, they're delicious. You know, a lot of wild food and survival food, it's just edible. It's not actually nice, it's just edible. This is one of those examples of wild food which is absolutely delicious. Like I said, I wouldn't bother later in the season. They get old and they just taste like leaves. That's really nice. Okay. Before I actually do any work, I'm going to have a quick look around and see what's what new signs of life we've got. Oh, there's some straight away. There's the comfrey coming through. We've still got last year's teasel, which has fed the finches and various other bird life through the winter. Comfrey's just starting to come through there, so that's my free organic plant food for the season. The apple tree. This is the apple tree that's got 2 varieties grafted onto it. You can see the left-hand variety, which is a Braeburn. No, it's a Cox's Orange Pippin. It's the Cox's Orange Pippin, just starting to put a couple through. Hello, Shirley. And this graft on the right, species yet to be determined, is a bit ahead of that one. You can see it's got lots of little buds coming through, just starting to wake up. Here's the other apple tree. This is the Braeburn. Again, lots of life just starting to come through. And there, those leeks have been there all winter. I probably won't bother with them now. Oh, sun in the way. This is the opal plum tree, and it's got blossom. There you go. Blossom coming through on the opal. We've got no blossom yet on the Victoria, but it's putting out. It's starting to put out its fruit spurs and its leaf buds. The conference pear tree there is it's fallen over a bit. I'm gonna have to restake that one. But has it got blossom? They do blossom quite early. No, it's got no blossom. Not just yet. It won't be long though. The pears do blossom pretty quickly. And the other pair, this is the French one, the Doyen Comis or Comis Doyen. Yeah, well on its way. Rhubarb ready to go there. So I'm going to say that's definitely spring. Very definitely spring. I'm also going to say I've got a bit of work to do. Although work's taken on a bit of a different meaning this year. What with my back and my shoulders. And I'm now also getting trouble with me. Well, you know, I've had twinges for a little while, but my hips and my knees ain't doing too great either. I've been working towards no dig for a few years now. Seems like a good idea, and I've partially done it. Well, more than partially. It's been a big part of how I do things, the old no dig method. I think this year I'm going to go a bit more full on. You can see the advantages already. I haven't weeded these beds since, oh, Jesus Christ, well, probably been about 9 months since I last weeded any of these beds. And where I've been putting on the big heavy layers of mulch, it's really kept the weeds down. It's done wonders. You can see there's a few little tufts of grass. Most of that is old shallots, which I didn't like, so I just left them. But you can see there's 1 or 2 docks to come out. And over here, again, look how clear that bed is. That stuff at the front there, that's old crops from last year. There's hardly any weeds. This bed's got a few more docks. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go around and dig the docks out. If I find any nettles, they're going to have to go. But by and large, I'm not really going to be digging this year. It seems like a really... that was good timing that I got into no dig at the time that I did. And now I actually need it. This year is going to be as no dig as I can possibly make it. Everything's going to get very heavy mulches. That's what all of you can see there. It looks like just a big pile of rubbish. It's not a big pile of rubbish. All allotments have big piles of rubbish that are actually useful stuff. All of that straw, cardboard, newspaper. And I've got a boot full of newspaper in the car as well. All of that is pretty much just going to get dumped on top of most of the weeds. The annual stuff. Oh, we've got some cleavers in there. I'm probably just going to leave it. We'll get rid of that ranunculus. That one is a bit of a... Yeah, we don't really want that one. By and large, I'm not really going to be digging that much. I'm going to be dumping compost, manure, newspaper, cardboard, straw on the surface. The soil, I've been building this up for 5 years now. And it's a hell of a lot better than it was 5 years ago. I think we're in a position this year to go a bit lazy. But I say a bit lazy, to be honest. It's just emulating nature. And in my experience, if you can emulate nature, you get really good results. Right, potatoes. Last year, I grew my potatoes here. Unfortunately, when the old arthritis really hit me back in October, I wasn't in a position to finish harvesting them, and there is still a row of Sarpomera potatoes under there. Again, I'm just going to mulch over it. I'm going to mulch all over it, and I'm going to grow squashes on top of it. I might get the odd rogue potato poking its head through, but that's not the end of the world. I'll pull them out as I go along. And I'm not even going to dig for the potatoes. Everybody thinks that, you know, potatoes, they have to go in deep trenches, you have to earth them up. Yeah, that's a way of doing it. But the other way of doing it is just to stick your potatoes on the ground. You don't dig at all. Just stick your potatoes on the ground, pile them up with mulch. And then as they grow, keep adding more straw, more compost, more leaf mould, whatever you've got. We're going to come back to that in later videos. I'm not putting the potatoes out today. But that is going to save me so much back pain. Just sitting them on the surface and covering them up with organic material. I've seen plenty of videos on it. I've read up on it. I'm not somebody to just jump into a fad. There are precautions you have to take. as there are with any method. One of them being green potatoes. If you don't cover them up with enough compost, straw, blah blah blah, you do end up with green potatoes as they're grown on the surface and exposed to the light. And I've seen people growing them with hay and straw, and it's not quite dense enough to keep the light off. They still go green, which is why I'm going to use a mixture of materials. I'm going to use, the bulk of it will be straw and hay, straw in particular. But then on top of that, any leaf mould, sawdust, compost that I can throw on as well to fill in all the little gaps and keep the sun off should give me good results with very little effort. Right, I've got a bunch of onions in the boot ready to go in the ground. So my first couple of jobs today, I'm going to sort through the compost because I need to start using it already. This is the homemade compost. I've got a few bags of commercially bought stuff from the allotment society, the shed down at Dagnall. Now that looks a bit of a mess, but I assure you underneath there is a large amount of very good material, and that bit there, that's already good to go. What's underneath is that is good to go. So we'll get my onions out, we'll pick a bed, and we'll see where we can get those started. Just getting ready for my onions here on this bed. There's a couple of docks to clear out, not too many. They look like parsnips, don't they? Root on that. And this one snapped off. We're going to have to go down a bit further and get that one out. But the reason I'm having to clear this, whereas there aren't many weeds elsewhere, these aren't weeds. This is a chicken feed bed. This is all chard. I don't personally like chard very much, but it's great for the chickens because it grows very quickly, it's very reliable, and it grows most of the year round. This stuff here, which is looking pretty healthy and green, has actually been here since this time last year. It's made it all the way through the winter as a chicken feed, but there's no point leaving it in the ground any longer. I might as well yank them out and feed them to the girls, because all these are going to do now is they're going to bolt, they're going to flower. They've been in the ground a year, their hormones are telling them it's time to reproduce, and they're going to send up a flower spike and flower, not a spike in this case, but they're going to flower and seed, at which point they become pretty inedible, and after which they tend to die off. So lots of free chicken food here, might as well just yank it all out, chuck it to the girls. All last year's leftovers, none of it goes to waste. Hey girls. There you go, more. The frogs come back. I dug this pond about 3 years ago. There was already a natural depression where all the water was draining to, and it was an area that I was never going to be able to grow anything on, so I thought, well, you know, why not just take what nature's given us, dig it out a bit more, line it. It can act as a bit of drainage, and it can be somewhere for the frog to live. I'd seen this frog hanging around the plot. Dug him a pond 3 years ago, and I've never seen a frog here since. But today, I've been seeing a frog. There's one in there. I can't see him at the moment, but we've got a frog again. I've been sitting here watching the pond skater eating other undiscernible little insects, little microscopic tiny things, whatever they are. You get the occasional one land on the surface of the water, and that pond skater's straight over onto them. They're decent little hunters. Yeah, I'm so pleased to see the frog. All we need is another frog, and we might get some spawn next year. That's enough of the work for today, I think. I'm getting a bit sore. I've done enough for today. And that's an important thing to remember with your allotment. Once it starts getting a bit much, call it a day. Because if it becomes a chore, it puts you off doing it. If you just do what you can manage each time, you get a lot more done in the long run. Here's a quick look at what I have done today. That's all ready now for the onions. Got my mulch on there, that's all my homemade compost. I've been digging that out. digging that out of the heap, barrowing it and dumping it on. See, they call it no dig, but you still have to put the stuff in the barrow to dump it on top. But even so, it's a hell of a lot easier than digging out every last weed and turning over your soil, and in the process destroying all of your mycorrhizal fungi and all of that sort of thing that goes on if you leave the soil alone to do its own thing. I was finding a lot of mycorrhizal fungi under here. Let's have a look under the... Oh, little chafer grub. I'll give that to the chickens. Where's all that mycorrhizal fungi I saw? There's some of it. I think the sun's destroying that a bit. If you look closely there, you can see the little white threads, and there's a baby worm as well. This soil is getting good and healthy. Also cleared out what was left of last year's asparagus. Pulled all that off because there's going to be new shoots coming through here very soon. I'm surprised I've not seen one or two already, but that's a really early crop asparagus. They're all going to be coming through. Garlic down there is looking good. I'm not going to do any more today. It's tempting to put my onions in. I've got them here, they're ready to go in, but I think I know when to stop, when to give me back a break. Here's the onions all waiting to go in. These are the ones that I started at home a few weeks ago now. You've seen them before. They've been ready to go out for a little while. It's just been a case of waiting for the soil to be ready. Sweary Alan over there. Excuse his profanities. So there we go. That was a good start to the year. It's only been one day so far, but plenty more to come. I wouldn't be surprised if we get another cold snap. So I do need to hold off doing a lot of stuff. But getting the onions out is fine. Clearing out all the old dead stuff and mulching the beds, that's all fine. Get all that done. I'll be back up here tomorrow. But for now, it's goodbye from me. And it's goodbye from him.